Today I'm going to make something using my brass filigree templates that I had gotten from Panda Hall off of Amazon. Now some of you have already seen a majority of the jewelry tutorials using these filigree templates that are on my playlist called Jewelry Tutorials. Forgive the noise outside. There's a lot of debris on the roof from the last hurricane, and my husband's trying to pull it off. Trying to pull all the debris down so we can clean it up. So that's the noise. Okay, so what I wanted to show you is what I'm going to do now. What I do is I look for inspiration online. I go to Pinterest, I go to Google, I go anywhere I can and just type in jewelry ideas or what have you. So I get inspiration and ideas, but I don't copy it. Then I create my own. So I'm going to do, now what I usually do is place things before I actually do anything. And as you can see, I'm going to use these two, which can be used as earrings, and many of you have seen my jewelry tutorial making earrings. These red beads, this filigree, and these beads, and then this teardrop bead. Believe it or not, this came off of a lampshade. I always think of utilizing things that you might discard and not realize you can use as jewelry, such as old blankets that have beading on it, or old shirts that have beading on it, or lampshades or curtains, and cut those beads off. You might be able to use them later on down the road. And then what I do is I'm going to be using these beads and one brass bead and all these red beads and some brass chain. So that's what I'm going to get started on. I'm going to have to use some brass jump rings, and I'm going to also use some brass head pins. So let's get started. So I'm also going to be using some brass jump rings, 6mm and 4mm. It's always good to have different sizes because you never know what you can use. So always have different sizes and the color of what you're going to be making. And also some brass clasps. Also some brass chain. Now I have this chain pieces left over, but I also have others. So this is a little more golden color, but I can use this to connect, or I can use my other brass chain. But I like to use scraps and things that I have already, and this already had a clasp on it. So I might use this. Even though it has a little gold tint, so do these. And it will be going around my neck. So always save your scraps off of old things because you never know how you can utilize it. And I think this will work out fine, and I probably won't need the excess. Just going like that. These came off of old tassels that I turned into earrings. They were decorative pieces to hang off other things. So that's what you should always remember to do. So that's what you're going to need for this project. You're also going to need some jewelry working tools, and again, if you don't have scrap chain, buy our chain on a roll because you can find that anywhere. And I already have brass chain, but I wanted to use that. Okay, so now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start getting my jump rings and threading these through. Okay, so the next thing you're going to need is you're going to need a head pin. And I got these in brass, and I put them through and I cut the ends and I made a loop. You don't need to use the head pins. You could use just brass wire, but I didn't have any brass wire, but I had head pins, so I used that. You can do that too. The head pins have a little head at the end, just like regular pins, and we needed 2 hooks on the side, so I just clipped that off, and I made 2 of these because that's going to attach over here like so. So I have one here, and I made that, and I'm going to hook these up now. So I'm going to hook them up using 6mm jump rings, and I'm just going to take my needle nose pliers and my chain nose and open them. Always open your jump rings like that. Don't pull them straight apart. Do it left and right like that, like a twist. Because if you pull them straight apart, they'll be misshapen and you'll never get them back. Okay, now I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on the end that I can fit. Well, I believe that's what I want on the lower part, because if I do it on the upper, I'm trying to think of how I want that to go. I think that's the way I want it. I could always move it to the upper hook if I change my mind, but I think that's good. And you hear that click? I don't know if you can with my husband raking out there. I don't know if you can with all that noise out there. So after I'm done with that, then I'll hook this chain up to there. Now this chain is kind of gold, so I don't know if I'm going to use it or not. I want to use my brass, but it's just for me, so I don't care, and I'm just using the scraps. But you would use brass. Use the color that, you know, matches. But this is kind of that color. Okay, so now I'm going to hook the other one up the same way. Okay, so for my next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the head pin, and I'm trying to simulate the one that I made. I'm trying to make one similar to the one I've seen, and they use little brass beads. Then I'm going to get a red bead, and then I'm going to put another brass bead like so. Okay, but I can't use the head because I got to attach it, so I'm going to trim off the head and make a loop on this end, and then trim off the excess and make a loop on the other end. And then what it's going to do, it's going to be looking like that. And then I'm going to put another bead in there, and then another bead. So let me get started with that. And I'm taking this down a little so that I can snip off the head of that. And it's always good to have like a little plastic cup or something to put your excess, because sometimes you can save your excess pieces, but this isn't going to be that big to save. But it's better than having all your garbage. But it's better than having all your garbage all around you. Okay, so now that I did that, before I trim the other side, I'm going to go ahead and make a loop at the end with my round nose. So just make a loop the best that you know how. I like to do that, and then see, and then what I do is I kind of inch it back so it looks neat, like an eye pen. But everybody has their own way, and make sure it's closed. So there, now I got a loop at the end. Now I got to cut the excess and do the loop on that side. Okay, so I went ahead and did that on both sides. See? Now that I have that, I'm going to take a jump ring, a 4mm jump ring, because I don't need the bigger ones, and I'm going to attach those to each end on both sides. Okay, so these are really tiny, and it's good. I have my magnifying light right here. Oh, that's my cat. Never, I can never do anything in peace. Somebody always has to meow. Probably wants lunch. So now I'm going to put the jump ring on that part, and I'm going to close it. It's my 4mm jump ring. Again, I apologize for all the noise, but the minute I decide to go tape something, everybody wants to do something to make noise. Okay, so now I got that. I'm going to go ahead and attach the other one, and then I'm going to put another bead. Okay? Okay, so for the next one, what I did right here was I took another single bead without the brass pieces, and I again threaded the wire or the head pin here with my little scrap, and then I made a loop on both ends. Okay, so I'm going to take another 4mm and I'm going to attach it right there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so what I did here was I attached, I better off doing this. I attached these, I threaded them, I attached them, then I took a 4mm jump ring. I did the same thing with a single red bead. I threaded a piece of wire, made 2 loops and attached it with a 4mm jump ring to this, doing the same thing with a piece of wire. Then I attached it to the top. So over here I attached it to the one side over here on the upper part, then here. Now for my next thing, I'm going to obviously finish this side the same way, and then what I'm going to do after that is start a second chain. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it to the bottom of this first bead, and I'm going to have one like this, then another one, and then have another larger bead, and I'm going to attach it probably over here or over here so that it drapes like that. Okay, so let me go and finish that, and then I'll be back with the rest. Okay, so now I have both sides attached, and what I'm going to do is I have another chain that I'm going to hook up to the bottom of this. Now, it's not really going to be a chain. You can do just a chain if you want, but it's going to be of more beads. Now, for these red beads, the kit you can get is at Hobby Lobby. It has these, it has bigger ones, and it has these and the brass ones, and bigger brass ones. So it's really a good kit. If I can find the link for it, I'll put it in the description box below. I will be putting the link for these filigree templates in the description box below as well. So be sure to look underneath the video. Okay, so what I did was I took some of the wire from the head pin and I threaded these beads through it, and I made a loop at the end. Now, I didn't have enough of the brass beads, so I used one of these amber colored ones. I was going to actually use this one, but I decided it stands out too much against the red, and it all comes in that kit, but I decided on that one, and I'm going to attach it with a 4mm bead right there, and then I'm going to add other beads. Now, I might do one of those, but I'm not sure. It would stand out too much, and I kind of want to let it be subtle, so I'm going to go along and see how it works out, and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I did here was I made another row, and I used a few different combination beads, and then I attached it to the bottom part, the bottom jump ring that this one attached to that bottom part, and then I attached it on the second ring, the second rung down where there's an opening so that I can hook it. I don't know if you're seeing that. And so it'll look like that. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing on this side. Now you could make it longer so it hangs like a chain, and you can even hook another row that goes lower. It depends on how many you want. I decided not to make it too low. I wanted it to look like that, but I could add a few more smaller beads to it and make it longer and loop like that. But this will look like that when it's on. This is facing me. So I'm going to do the other side, and then I'll see if I want to add anything else to it. So now I hooked up this string of beads on this side the same exact way. So keep in mind it's facing me. This is going to be up. This will kind of be on your shoulder, a little lower. Now what I want to do is I'm thinking, should I do another row and make it loop, or should I get a chain? So I'm going to figure that out before I hook anything else. And I'm also going to glue, you guessed it, some acrylic gemstones to these. That'll be the last step. But for now, I'm going to see if I like this, how it sits. I'm going to add the chain, and I'm going to see how long I need it to be before I add anything else to it. Okay, so I tried it on and made sure that it's the length that I wanted it, because again, I don't want it too long because this is long. So I wanted it to hang not too low and not too short. So now what I want to do is I want to attach the bottom piece to this. Now I'm not done. I've already attached a few extra jump rings to make it longer because it was way too short. It was more like a choker. I wanted it to be a necklace. So I added some jump rings here and here. I removed the clasp, added jump rings, put the clasp back, then added jump rings on the other side to make it an even. Otherwise, if you just made one side longer, it kind of be lopsided. All right, so now that I did that, the other thing I'm going to do is the bottom. Now I have a few ideas for the bottom piece. I'm probably going to thread an eye pin through here and make 2 loops at the end and then hook it to this rung right here, this little opening, and go like this. So I have that big bold piece, and then at the other end of the hook, hook it like that. And in the middle of that, I'm probably going to put one or the other just to break it up. I'm not sure if I want that piece or that piece, and this one's rolling away. So I did think that might be too much and I might hang just that, but I'm not really sure, so the only thing I can do to see it is to actually do it. Again, you could always try something, and if you don't like it, then you could remove it and put what you think is best. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so what I did was I got a bigger brass jump ring. Now I'm not sure what millimeter it is, but it's pretty large. I'm thinking it's about an 8 to 9 millimeter jump ring. It's much bigger. It goes over the center rung, and this way this will hang better like that. And then I attach the other bead to that, so it's making it more ornate, and it fits the larger scale of what I wanted the necklace to be. Now what I'm going to do is I cut a piece of chain that's about 7. Now I cut a piece of chain that's about 7 inches. So rather than just add more beads, I was thinking of getting a 4 millimeter jump ring and another 4 millimeter and kind of hanging a chain like so. Or I might just do that and shorten this. I haven't really decided, so I'm going to figure that out, and I'll come back and I'll show you if I did that. Okay, what I did was I took about a 6-inch chain. I cut it off of this roll, and of course this is in brass. So I cut a 6-inch chain, and with 2 4 millimeter jump rings, I attached it to the same little loop that I attached these two also. I attached the jump ring, the 4 millimeter jump ring, to the chain, and then I attached it to the same jump ring that these two are attached to on the loop at the end of this. And then I went and I attached the other end with a 4 millimeter jump ring to the jump ring that's at the end of this. And then I repeated it for the other side. So it's 6 inches, and then with the 2 jump rings on either side, it came to 7 inches long. This looks when it's on, how these drape. Now I can always do another one and another one, but I don't want too many chains going crazy, and that's just your preference. So now for the last part, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some acrylic gemstones, and I'm going to put them on here. I'm going to glue them with some E6000 clear jewelry glue. So I'm going to be right back, and then I'll show you. Okay. So Now what I'm doing is I'm gluing the gemstones. They're acrylic gemstones. You can get them at Hobby Lobby, Michael's, basically anywhere. And I got assorted colors and sizes. They're all round though. They're not the assorted shapes. So what I did was I went in the little spots that you can put things. I did that. I glued them with some E6000 jewelry glue, and it's clear, and a toothpick. So now that I did those two, I'm going to also put one right there in the center over here. So you might want to get some tweezers to pick it up. Now, sometimes I put it on the back, but I also put the glue, if there's no gaps, right here. And what I like about E6000 glue is it gives it some time for you to play with. You have about 20 minutes to mess around with it before it really adheres. Okay, now I'm going to hold it. After you place it just where you want. And it does take 24 hours for it to fully cure. So I wouldn't go ahead and wear it immediately. Let that glue dry. Okay, so I've got this finished now, and then I'm going to try it on so that you can see what it looks like on. But I'm going to make you see this. See, that's from the bottom to the top. And I did add an extra chain and some dripping beads. And this is a similar one to my other filigree Victorian choker necklace. But this is more ornate because it has more beading, and the other one didn't have as much beading, but it did have the drippy chains. So this is my Christmas Victorian filigree necklace, and I'm going to show you what it looks like on. Okay, so this is it. This is how it looks. It's all finished finally, and I did add some chain and I crisscrossed it. You just have to find what you want. You cut some chain about 6 to 5 inches, and then you just place it over where you want, and you do the other, and then if you want it shorter or longer, you just trim it. It's your preference how long you want it and how much you want it to hoop. And then you hook it, and I hooked it here, and then I went and I hooked it to there, and I did the same thing on the other side. And in the center I put 2 6mm jump rings, and then I got these drippy teardrop beads and I put a 6mm jump ring through that, and then I put that jump ring through the center jump ring, and then I closed it. And that's it. So all you really need is some chain, some 6 and 4mm jump rings, a kit of beads, some beads, whatever color you want, and some acrylic gemstones, whatever color you want, and a clasp, and some E6000 glue, some toothpicks, some tweezers, and some wire or eye pins and head pins of the same color of your project. Now, if you didn't want it in brass, you can always paint these. I showed you in many of my other filigree jewelry tutorials. In my jewelry tutorial playlist, I showed you different ways to paint them, different colors. I've painted them copper, I've painted them silver and black and purple, and so you can do any other color you'd like black and red if you want this. This is supposed to be like a Christmas Victorian filigree necklace. It has the red, it has the filigree, but I use these two instead. These can be used for earrings. If you wanted to make matching earrings in the same filigree kit, you can go get these and then make earrings out of them so it matches. And you could add chain to it if you really want it to match, or you could just put the acrylic gemstones and then maybe a teardrop bead that is similar in color. So this is it. That's how it's going to look. Now, if you didn't want this to disappear into your cleavage, you can just eliminate the big bead and just have the one bead. I might remove the bigger bead and just keep this little bead, but I kind of like it. It adds a little more to it. Um, Ideally, if you have a shirt over it, it won't be that bad. So there it is. That's how it looks like. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I like this length. Now, if you want it longer from the chain that attaches, you can make it longer, and then you can have these pieces down here, whatever you prefer. It's just your preference. I prefer this so you can see it, and I really enjoy doing this project. It was a lot of fun. It's easy, it's fast, it's affordable. So go ahead and give it a try, and I hope you enjoyed this too. And if you haven't checked out the rest of my jewelry tutorials, please check out my jewelry tutorial playlist. And all the links to anything that I have here, like the filigree and beads and whatnot, will be below this video in the description box. Be sure that you check that out. Please like this if you like this video. Comment, even if it's just say hello, or if you have a question about this project. And other than that, if you know anybody else that would like to try this out, you can share my video, and it helps me out when you do so. It gets it around, other people can see it. Also, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe now, and please click that bell for future notifications so you know when my next jewelry tutorial or any of my other videos come up. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.